The case for recession is, a pretty simple one. You have rising interest rates, you have rising price of gas, you have a stretched consumer,
Rising
you're
cost of
already
capital.
rising cost of capital. You're already starting to see, sort of anecdotal evidence of the U.S. consumer retrenching. You had Walmart's earnings yesterday, and Walmart, saying that the rising price of gas and rising price of energy is definitely, hitting some of their sales. And that's the for recession. What's the against recession camp? And here, you're going to laugh me out of this studio, but the against case is that it's different this time. And that's why I say you're going to laugh me out. It's different this time because, we've had so much monetary stimulus, so much fiscal stimulus in the past 2 years that it's a little bit like, the pig going through the python.
Yep.
All this stimulus that we've put in, it's going to take a while to be digested. Combine that with, frankly, yes, asset prices are down for the past year, but if you take a sort of 3 to 4, 5 year moving average, asset prices are still way up. So there's still a lot of sort of pent up. There's been a lot of, at least, paper wealth creation in the past 4 or 5 years. So much so that there's probably still enough there to have some decent demand. So all this to say, we may get the recession, we may get the 2 consecutive negative quarters of GDP, but it's not. I think it'll be a pretty shallow one. The end result is I'm not fearful that the U.S. economy is about to fall off a cliff. And incidentally, I'm not too fearful that the Chinese economy is also about to fall off a cliff. I know the Chinese economy is slowing hard, but a lot of the slowdown has been sort of pushed by the government. The first, the crackdown on real estate, which they're now backing off of. First point, and then second point is zero COVID, which I hope they're going to start backing off of, and they're starting to sound like they're backing off of. So if you take those 2 big economies, U.S., China, I think there's enough, still gas in the tank for both of these for the world economy to not run empty. The one place where things look very dire, very, very dire is Europe.
Yeah. And you're there right now.
And I'm there right now. And here, my big fear is a pretty simple one. And perhaps I should have started off with this, because that's actually is the single most important thing today is, the world is facing an energy crisis. And economic activity at the end of the day is energy transformed. Now, this energy crisis is centered in Europe. The US or North America is energy self-sufficient, so America isn't really going to have energy problems. China isn't going to have energy problems because they've turned back to coal massively. Plus, they're buying cheap energy from Russia. So China and the rest of Asia is going to be broadly fine. The big question mark is Europe. And here you get to a very simple question: is if Europe runs out of energy this winter, which seems highly likely, what happens to all the supply chains for Europe? Do we get another supply chain shock, as we've had, several for the past few years? COVID, Ukraine war, last summer's shutdown of industrial production in China because of lack of electricity. Do we get that in Europe in the winter? And if so, what does that do to global inflation? What does that do to European growth? So the real black hole in the world is not the US. I don't think it's China either. The real black hole really is Europe.
If you enjoyed this video clip, click here to watch another one you should like.